Right, we're starting today with our take on the shocking royal developments yesterday and overnight, and Prince William's blistering attack on the BBC after an inquiry found journalist Martin Bashir used deceitful behaviour to secure his famous 1995 Panorama interview with Princess Diana. I mean,
wow.
Make no bones about it, this was a totally extraordinary moment last night.
It was so moving, wasn't it?
Yeah, it really was. Mark and I watched it quite late, and I was utterly gobsmacked. I really was, and I was really taken back to him as a child.
Yeah.
You know, when he talks about how the last couple of years of her life, and he remembers the fear and paranoia and how that was fueled by the program. And you think, so we're talking about when he was 13.
Yeah.
You know, and I think we forget sometimes, don't we? And this must be so meaningful to all of them.
Yeah.
Everybody that loved
Diana.
To
be so young and to lose your mother at that age.
That finally this has come about and there has been an apology. I mean, obviously it's not going to heal the huge wounds, but it's something. What did you think watching it?
Do you know what? Watching it, I felt so emotional because, like you said, you start to see that child again, and I think sometimes in the midst of it, we forget he's been holding this for 25 years.
Yeah.
His way of now speaking out, this is the way that he's decided to do it. But it's just so painful. And if that's me, who's someone who's not a family member, from an outside, and I think what we forget, everything that Princess Diana went through, and we know as parents, the children have gone through it.
Yeah, exactly.
And then they weren't able to speak out about it and grieving the public.
And I can't help wonder, at what point did they start to unravel this and work out this connection? As her brother, Earl of Spencer, said, he draws a line from that interview to her death 2 years later. I mean, he really did say some really strong stuff about that. Because Diana, after this, you know, these terrible feelings of paranoia and fear and not being able to trust anyone, of course, she then didn't have proper security and all of that. So when did they start to know? We'll never know that, will we?
I just remember being really shocked that the BBC let this happen, because growing up, the BBC was always trusted. Everyone trusted the BBC.
Yeah.
Then we had the Jimmy Savile stuff and now the Princess Diana stuff. And Martin Bashir, as far as I can see, befriended them and thought it was going to be like a nice, light-hearted interview or whatever. But it wasn't. I think he just stitched her up. I really do.
It is, of course, we do. We think of the BBC, it's so shocking.
It's so sad for those boys as well.
Scurrilous behaviour. I mean, for me, I'm absolutely furious that Martin Bashir, I mean, he has issued an apology. He apologised. He says that it was a stupid thing to you know, falsify these bank statements, but he's still very proud of the interview.
He should be ashamed of himself.
How will that leave William and Harry feeling?
I mean, I've said before, you know, I feel for both William and Harry. And William, as the future king, I think it was important for him to get this statement out about his mother, because he doesn't really say much in relation to, you know, his brother. So I think it would have been important for him as a way of dealing with it, because the more you speak about traumatic things like that, the more it actually does help.
You can feel his anger underneath it. I mean, of course, they will have to... All sorts of people have had to go through that statement with him. This is huge. This is the future king basically saying that the BBC made money from his mother's... from this deceitful, you know...
And how vulnerable she was. And what you said as well really hits home, what you said regards to those last 2 years, that memory that they had of their mum. You were saying being paranoid and... Do
you know what else really broke my heart? Because I saw the child, he almost said it, maybe my mum and dad would have still been together. When he said, it made my parents' marriage worse. You know, like everybody... You know, that to me was just... That got me crying last night, because their marriage was obviously in a terrible state anyway. But that child still thought there was hope. Now, this has also coincided with the release of a new mental health documentary on Apple TV+, The Me You Can't See, in which Prince Harry discusses traumatic memories from his childhood, and in particular surrounding the death of Princess Diana. I mean, this is huge interview, he says so much.
Yeah,
and again, I haven't seen it all, but what I've seen so far is absolutely heartbreaking, the things that he says.
I mean, to even talk about it without welling up, you know, as a child, when you have a child trauma, and especially, you know, Brenda, we know, you know, losing a parent at that age and having to have that responsibility and not knowing what's going on and then being in the public eye. We can never really understand what they've gone through unless you've been through it yourself. Well, and I think it's just heartbreaking. And I think, look, they both grieve in different ways. Harry, I feel like Harry just wants to make sure that his child doesn't have the same speech in 20 years' time about his parents.
Actually, one of the other things he does say is, he says, I look into Archie's eyes, wondering whether my wife is going to end up like my mother and I'm going to have to look after him myself. Another thing that he says, Linda, what do you think of this? Unfortunately, when I think about my mum, the first thing that comes to mind is the same thing over and over again. Strapped in a car, seatbelt across. My brother is in the car as well. My mother driving, being chased by 4 mopeds with paparazzi on them. She was almost unable to drive because of the tears.
Oh, it just makes me feel so sad that the brothers are not really getting on at the moment. And I just, like, when I picture Diana, I remember seeing her taking the boys to Chesham Park Zoo or whatever and just having lots of fun with them. That we'd never seen Princess Anne or Prince Charles or anyone doing those sort of things with the kids. And she seemed like a real maternal mum that loved doing fun things with her boys, and it was just so sad. I mean, Judi,
I think you're right. I think the thing is, oh God, there's never going to be anybody in his life, is there, Harry, that knows just what this was like.
Yeah,
in the way that William will, and hopefully because this will have been a fight that's been going on behind closed doors to get this, the truth to come out. As William said, you know, if only my mother had known in, I think it was 1995, she would have known this before she died.
Yeah.
And maybe, I think, maybe this will bring them back together, because this is a fight they will have shared together.
Yeah,
it's definitely together, but I just hope that this now will, a bit more sympathy for Harry, you know, a bit, you know, there's been so much conversation about him and Meghan and all this other stuff, but the reality is, we have sat here and watched 2 men who are now grown, but we see the child in them. We saw the pain in William's face. We've seen the pain in Harry for all this time. We all know what it's like to have a trauma, whether you're an adult or a child, and they had to do this in the public eye. That's all I care about, his mental health and how he copes.
He talks quite a bit about that in the documentary. He says that, you know, it was very much stiff upper lip.
Yeah.
And he said he found himself just moving through.
But it was like that at the funeral, wasn't it? You never saw any affection, no one cuddling the boys. They were just walking on behind, you know, the coffin and everything. And not once did one of them put their arms around them or give them a little cuddle or anything, which you normally would automatically do.
I think for me, the thing that came out, that comes out of both of this and that title, The Me You Can't See, it really hit a nerve with me, because, you know, as Harry said in his Oprah interview, you know, he said that he can say what he wants to say, but his brother and his father necessarily can't. And it's I think it's a lot of, you know, people judging the book by the cover. Just because they're in that public eye or they're in that establishment and that firm, people think that you don't have feelings. But it's really, it really touched me. It really touched me just to hear them literally being able to talk their truth. And I just hope people let them, you know,
I
do
like
it
to
freely as they
imagine
want to.
that they are having a really good Zoom call later today, the 2 of them.